hello, welcome. We're really excited to have you here for our webinar. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you guys right now are seeing a slide, an Olin graduate program slide, and hopefully you're able to hear us as well. You are hopefully here for the application tips, tricks, and traps webinar. We're really excited to have you here. And first of all, we want to tell you who you're listening to, who's on the webinar. So my name is Ashley Lautzenheiser. I'm an associate director of the graduate programs admissions. I primarily work with our part-time MBA as well as our full-time MBA program. And I have a colleague here with me as well.
Hi, I'm Jessica Voss. I'm also Associate Director of Graduate Programs Admissions here at WashU, and I work primarily with our specialized master's programs. Welcome. So before we get started, we just want to go over a few logistical items. So participants have all been muted to reduce our background noise. And can everyone hear us? If you're having difficulty, please use the raise your hand function or send us a message in the chat box, and we will do our best to make sure that you can hear us. As we go along through the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to write your questions in the Q&A function. We will address all questions at the end of the session. So again, just make sure you raise your hand if you cannot hear us, and we'll go ahead and get started.
All right. Well, we are really excited. We're going to start off with 3 common mistakes. We want to cover these early. They're a good theme for the entire webinar. And now that we're going to cover them, you won't make any of these mistakes, right? So the 3 most common mistakes that we see. The first one is not reading instructions. This sounds really obvious, but it is so important. It is really important that you read the instructions. There's a lot in there. It's a lot of reading, we understand, but they're very important, and we want to make sure that you understand the application process. Related is assuming that all schools are the same. So each school is different. The application is different for each school. And so in addition to obviously reading the instructions, don't assume that every school is the same. Understand that each school has a different timeline, different deadlines. Do your research and understand what would be expected of you in each of the applications that you're submitting, so you will not be making mistake number 2. Now, the last mistake is rushing. Obviously, there's a lot to get done, but rushing through the application process really sells you short. So it is important that you leave time for some personal reflection in the application process. We want you to be genuine in your applications. Also, make sure you leave enough time for all parts of the application, not just hitting submit, but also studying for the GMAT or the GRE, time to write and review your essays, time to visit campus. All of these things take time. So it's important that you leave time in the application for all of them. Also, don't fall into a trap of trying to use the same material for every school. Don't fall into the trap of trying to use the same essay for every school. Or trying to submit all the same answers. It's not going to work. Also, you want to leave time to do what you're doing right now, which is attending a webinar, right? We want to make sure that you have time for that, attending information sessions, going to events, connecting with alumni, students, admissions professionals, and really taking the time to find a good fit. So you won't be doing number 3 either, right?
Right.
Good, Jessica won't be.
So what are you doing this for? The application form. So to start, we are going to cover all aspects of the application form. We're going to talk to you tonight about letters of recommendation, test scores, transcripts, essay, the resume, and the interview. And we want you to know that Olin's application is all online. So it's fairly simple. You'll go to the website, you'll create a login, and then you're going to listen to Ashley and follow some instructions. So when you open the application form, start by reading the instructions. Review as much of the application as possible before you start completing the application. When it is an online application, try to print and review the application before you submit it. There's a lot of demographic data, contact information, information about your education, so make sure all of that information is correct before you submit it. And a common trap and tip really is don't wait until the deadline to submit the application. What if something goes wrong? Your payment doesn't go through or a transcript doesn't upload. Make sure you are prepared and submit before the deadline.
So the next item that we're going to cover is letters of recommendation. So I'll first make a note that we, Olin, our graduate programs do not require any letters of recommendation, but we understand that other schools do require them. And you might be asked to do letters of recommendation for special fellowship programs, other special programs that you might be applying to. So we definitely want to cover these. And so my first piece of recommendation for letters of recommendation would be to be wise about who you pick to write these letters for you. Again, these are letters written on your behalf. You are not writing these letters. Each school, again, is different in the logistics, the requirements, who they ask the letter to be from, what questions they'll ask your recommender. So again, plan ahead, make sure you leave time to understand the process. And again, pick a smart choice. So you want to pick someone who fits the requirements and that would be able to write you a positive letter of recommendation. So we recommend sit down, have coffee or lunch with this person, buy them coffee, buy them lunch, and ask them if they can write a positive letter on your behalf. Make sure you make the process as easy as possible for them. So if there's any forms they needed printed or anything like that, that you have that covered. And then I think it's important to also follow up, thank them for their time, and also let them know how the process goes. Let them know which schools you got into and how instrumental they were in your success. So again, make sure, just as we've said before, read the instructions, and really the biggest thing is planning ahead. This is one that takes a lot of time. All right, Jessica, I think it's time we talked about the elephant in the room, right?
Right? Test scores. Everyone is so scared about the test score. So the first thing is know the policy on the test. You know, we here at Olin, we have no preference of if you do the GRE or the GMAT, but know the schools you're applying to and what tests they will accept. Also, if you have not decided on which exam you're planning to take some practice tests for each. Choose the one that suits your strength, as we have no preference on which test that you take. And also, a trap is being hung up on the average. Look at the range for a school. It's just one component of the application, and it's also one that is changeable and that you can control. So you can always retake the exam if you feel that you could score better, but don't go overboard. Don't go overboard on how many times you take that exam. The other score that we require for international students is the TOEFL or the IELTS. So is it required? Again, make sure that you're following up with the schools that you're applying to. Make sure you're looking at their policies on waiver and expiration. So here at Olin, we want a TOEFL score that is not older than 2 years. So that means that if you're applying for fall of 2017, that test score for your TOEFL should be no older than August of 2015. Next, we're going to talk about transcripts. So for transcripts, we are looking at a multitude of things here. We're looking at where you went, what you studied, what were some trends in your grades, as well as your GPA. So unless you're currently in school, know that your GPA is currently unmovable, but know when to use that optional essay or additional information section that you may want to address your undergraduate grades because of a special circumstance. For example, you were working full-time during college, you had a family situation or something like that you want to explain what happened with a dip in your grades. We don't really need to know about your partying freshman year. Also, for our application, we will accept unofficial transcripts and degree to be uploaded to the application. If the degree title and date is not on the transcript, we will need an uploaded copy of your certificate or diploma. Also, if you went to an institution where your documents are not in the English language, we will require that we see the English language copy as well as the copy in the original language. If you have not yet graduated, please just upload your most current up-to-date transcript. It's not necessary at the time of application to mail your official transcripts to our office. This is done at the time of enrollment. All transcripts must report all courses, grades, and credits, including study abroad and transfer credits. So if your transcript just indicates transfer credit, then you'll want to make sure that you request your transcripts from the schools that you attended during your study abroad or transfer time.
Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the essay, which is one of my favorite components of the application. Jessica, do you agree you like the essay?
I like reading the essays.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. So hopefully you enjoy writing them. And I think the first thing, this should come as no surprise, my first piece of advice is to read the prompt. And each school is different. And we really want you to write the essay and then take some time to let it sit, marinate, and then edit it, review, and submit an essay that you feel is of the same caliber of the rest of your application. This should definitely not be the thing that you do last. And again, you should write the essay. You should not be having anybody write it for you. And it really should be personal and school specific. So our essay prompt, which you probably are curious about, is as follows. At Olin, we pride ourselves on our close-knit community and aim to know every student by name and by story. In an essay of no more than 500 words, please introduce yourself as you would to your future classmates. So hopefully that gives you a little insight into who we are and what we're looking for in 500 words or less. So yes, there's absolutely some room for creativity. You could absolutely have fun with this prompt. Students have gone all over the place telling us their life stories to their top 10 lists. And some are a little more polished, more professional. They're much more about their goals, why they're seeking the graduate program that they are. That's totally fine. It is very open-ended. And we want to get to know you. This is absolutely a time where we get to learn more about you. And as Jessica and I just mentioned, it is one of our favorite parts of the application. So definitely don't wait to do this at the last minute, because if you're rushed, we really won't get to know you. It probably won't come across in the application that you're very genuine. So we really, you're very genuine about your interests. So we really do want you to tell us about yourselves. Obviously, it's also a chance if you want to tell us about your interest in the program that you can do that, but the essay should really be centered on who you are and giving us an opportunity to start to get to know you, because again, through our program, it is our hope that, and our goal really, that we get to know every student by name and by story. So the resume should be absolutely a thing of beauty, much like this beautiful picture of campus where you can see our building. This is beautiful, yes. Your resume will be beautiful, but it will not look like that. It will look like this. It will be a professional resume. So this right here is actually an example from our Weston Career Center. This actually is an undergraduate sample, but to give you an idea, it's not really flashy. There's not pictures. There's not crazy colors. It's a professional resume. It's pretty straightforward. So your resume, your professional resume, generally the standard here in the States is one-page resume. Unless you have work experience over 10 plus years, one page, you really should be able to make it fit. So really in your resume, you should tell us about your work experience and about your education. If you have already graduated from your undergraduate degree, definitely tell us about your work experience since you've graduated and up and through the present day. If you're still an undergraduate student, absolutely include internships that you've been a part of, significant student experiences that you might be involved in. So one thing is, don't sell yourself short. This is absolutely a time to tell us about your great accomplishments and use as many action words and concrete results. We want to hear about outcomes and we want to hear specifics. So instead of telling us that you increased sales, why don't you tell us that you increased sales by 10% or you increased them by a certain dollar amount? You want to, again, give us concrete examples, but I would avoid a lot of industry jargon. We definitely understand a fair amount of business jargon. So if you have something like a CPA, we know what that is. But if you have a very specific, very rare professional designation, you might want to tell us what that is. So absolutely understand that we do have knowledge of business, but if you're using too much industry jargon, we won't be able to fully appreciate the accomplishments that you have on your resume. So I think it's also important that we give you some advice from professionals. So this is actually from our Weston Career Center website as advice. So your resume should be concise, accurate, and professional. It should definitely be proofed for grammar, spelling, and conformance. Customized to a specific position that you are seeking. So in this case, a graduate program. Which graduate program? Make sure that your resume, again, is customized to that position. Action and results oriented, which we just talked about. What are the things that you accomplish, specific results? And most importantly, error free. A big trap would be, let's say, really over embellishing on your resume. That would be really bad. We definitely want your resume to be accurate and error free.
So the interview, again, you're seeing a common theme throughout this webinar of each school is different. Make sure you've looked at each school's interview policy and how they handle interviews. Do your research. Our process here at Olin is that interviews are by invitation. And so after your application is reviewed, then you may be invited to interview. An interview is very important. It's remember that it's important because it's our chance to get to know you, and that remember also when you're interacting with us that every interaction you have is important, whether you're phoning in, whether you're coming to visit campus, whether you're emailing, every interaction that you have with the admission staff, with the students here is very important. Interviews take place in different ways. They can be here on campus, they can be in person, or they can be on a video conference such as Skype. The format does not affect the outcome. It's based on your location or where you're at or what's most easy to complete the interview. A couple of tips for Skype, because that is how we do majority of our interviews. Make sure you practice. Make sure your software works, that you have a strong internet connection, and that you've practiced with a friend. Maybe connect, if you're an international student, connect with a friend in the US and make sure that your internet connection works well over Skype and that you can hear and that the software is working on your computer. Also, make sure you have a professional background, a nice blank screen behind you or something, a blank wall or something nice like that. And also be fully professionally dressed when you're on a Skype call.
That's an important one.
That is an important one. So with the interview, again, the interview is your chance to shine. It's your chance to make an impression and stick out in the crowd of applications. Keep your answers concise and on topic. Think of stories just like your resume. Think of success stories. Think of ways, examples of teamwork. Think of examples that you might be able to share that are common interview questions, and that also highlight your strengths as a candidate. The interview is a chance for us to really make this process personal, and it's a chance for us to get to know you. We want to hear from you in your voice about your experiences, your desire for a graduate degree, and why you want to come to Olin. Deadlines. So for spring of 2017, these are for our professional MBA students. Our first round deadline, this is also for January start. And this is, the first round is 10/3 with October 3rd. So just a few days away. So if you're, prepping, don't rush. You have plenty of time to finish it. And then the second deadline is December 1st. Deadlines for fall of 2017, which is all of our PMBA, our fall start PMBA, our full-time MBA, and all of our specialized master's programs. Those deadlines are October 3rd, December 1st, February 2nd, and April 3rd. Don't forget that February 2nd is also the international student deadline for all of those programs. What are you going to do now?
So now hopefully you have learned a little bit about the application process. And we also want to mention a couple of other ways that are important in learning more about programs, assessing fit, and getting to know us better. So obviously attending a webinar is a great way to do that. And we have a few webinars, at least one a month, for this next coming year. And so actually the next webinar that would be open for all of our programs is our Weston Career Center webinar. So this is open to any graduate program interest with our Weston Career Center. So it'll talk about the resources available to our students, and that will be mid-November. We also have some program-specific webinars coming up for both the MBA as well as some of our specialized master's programs. We also host evening information sessions for our professional MBA program here on campus. And then also there are fabulous ways to visit campus for all of our programs. We do have visit days through both October and November coming up, and these are a great way to come to campus, interact with current students and our faculty and staff. So you'll get to sit in on a class, go to an information session, learn about financial assistance, also get the opportunity to hear from both our Career Center and also get a chance to really just interact with students, see if this is a campus that you can see yourself at. Another opportunity would be through some special visit days we have. We have both a diversity weekend and a women's weekend coming up for our full-time MBA program. And then we also travel extensively throughout the world. So hopefully we'll get to see you in your hometown as well. So we have quite a few events coming up throughout the United States as well as overseas. We'll be traveling to a couple countries in Eastern Europe, and we'll also be going to India, South Korea, Japan, and China in the next 2 months. So definitely look at the website for all of the event dates. And then also you'll receive emails if there's an event coming up in your area, as well as an email invitation for any webinars, all of our cross-program webinars, as well as webinars specific to the program that you're interested in. So we want to thank you, and at this point, we're going to turn it over to questions because we think there's probably a lot of specific questions. And so what I'd like to do is we have a couple of questions that candidates submitted online before the program, and I'll also address any questions that are in the Q&A box. So if you do have a question, type it into the Q&A box and we'll try to get to all of those. Also, I'll mention that if we don't get to your question or you'd like to have a question answered offline, feel free to email the Olin Grad Admissions email address, which is at the bottom of the page there, and Jessica, myself, or any of our colleagues would be happy to help. So first of all, we have a couple of questions about submitting scores. So we do here at Olin, we do accept unofficial scores through the application process. So you can submit your unofficial GMAT or GRE score, you can submit your unofficial TOEFL or IELTS score in the application process. Please note that when you enroll in the program, though, you will need to submit official scores. So during the application process, unofficial scores is just fine. We also had a question about if you're an international student, do you need to have your transcripts evaluated by some sort of evaluation service? And I'll let Jess take that.
No, you do not. So we do not accept or require an international credential evaluation. We just ask that you submit your transcripts, again, at the time of application, unofficial transcripts uploaded to the application, both in the English language and the original language. And those transcripts, you want to make sure that they report all of the courses that you completed, the grades or marks, and the credits or class hours for those schools that give that credit.
And then we had a question about when is our women's weekend. Our women's weekend is coming up November 4th through the 6th. You can find the link on our general full-time admissions site. And I would be happy to follow up with you via email as well if you would like, with more information about how to register for that. The registration for that will close at the end of the month, so you still have a little bit of time to think, at the end of October. So we have some time to think about that. And then our diversity weekend is actually October 21st through the 23rd. And then someone asked about which round should you apply in? What's the difference between the rounds?
Question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Anonymous. Good job, Anonymous. So absolutely, yes, we have 4 different rounds. Which one is great for you? I think it's important that you apply in the round that you're ready for. Again, don't be rushing through the application process, but there's no need to wait around. So we are going through the different rounds and making admissions offers and building the class as we go through. We do anticipate through every round that we have being able to admit students in each round. But again, as soon as your application is ready, earlier generally is better because again, it gives you more time to prepare to start the program. And then we have a couple questions about scholarships. So maybe Jessica will talk about scholarships in regards to the specialized master's programs, and then I'll cover it for the MBA.
Perfect. So for specialized master's program, there are no specific deadlines for scholarships. So all applications are automatically considered for Dean's Merit-Based Scholarship at the time of application. For the specialized master's program, your application to the program serves also as your application for scholarship, and you will be notified of any scholarship award at the time of admission. So all admission decisions for the specialized master's programs will go out on the notification dates for each deadline, and those are published on our website, and scholarship notifications are at that same time.
Great. So for the MBA program, for the full-time MBA program, you're automatically considered for merit scholarship when you apply, similar to the S&P program. Our scholarships do range from partial to full tuition scholarships. And just like S&P, you would find out about those scholarship decisions pretty much at the same time as the notification. So you'd be notified of your admission decision and your scholarship decision. So you would have that in hand in order to make a decision. You, as I said, are automatically considered for scholarship. And there are some specific scholarship opportunities available. So for the full-time MBA, I would encourage you to look at the website. We are a partner school for both the Forte Foundation as well as the Consortium for Graduate Management Study. We're also a reaching out school, and we do have some specific scholarships available for international students. So again, look at the website if there's a scholarship that you might think is more specific to you. Otherwise, everyone is considered for general scholarship. So someone is asking another anonymous question. That's a good question. How would you customize your resume for an MBA application as opposed to a job? That's a very good question. So it's rather subtle, but I think sometimes when we see resumes, some people leave on obvious indicators that they might be submitting their resume also for jobs. So at the top, you do not need to include a statement of purpose or anything like that on a resume. But I think the more you can tell us about, again, action and results, also about any leadership opportunities you've had, and not necessarily traditional management opportunities, but maybe you were a team lead, maybe you have a mentoring opportunity outside of work, anything where we can get some information about what type of manager, what type of leader you may be in the future.
I'll take the next question. So this question is about the interview being by invitation only, but yet they've received an invitation for a Kira Talent video. That's a good question. So interviews for Kira Talent are different from the interview for the admissions interview. International students applying to the specialized master's program, regardless of TOEFL waiver, are asked to complete a short Kira Talent video. You'll be prompted with 3 questions, and you will respond to those questions within a minute and a half. And that interview is really a measure of English proficiency and not an admissions interview.
Great. You want to take the next one too?
Sure. Sure. This person is asking about their TOEFL score, and their TOEFL score is going to expire in September of 2017. Is it viable to submit for the fall of 2017 term? Yes. So we look for scores they have to be within the last 2 years. So as long as it will not expire until after the I-20 process is complete and the term is going to start, then that would be fine. So it sounds like your score would be good and viable for the fall 2017 term.
All right, so there is a question about letters of recommendation. So it's because we don't require them. The question is basically, can you still submit them? And the answer is actually no. We don't allow candidates to submit letters of recommendation. They're not even optional.
Yeah. We don't need them.
No. All right. Okay, let's see. Do you have any advice for joint degree candidates? It's a good question, absolutely. So we do offer quite a few of joint degrees on our campus. So within the MBA program, we have a lot of students that might be considering an MSW, an MPH, a JD MBA, a Master's in Architecture, and an MBA. There's quite a few possible combinations. There's really no difference in the application for our joint degree candidates. Generally, if you're interested in a joint degree, you're going to apply when you're ready to start the MBA. So if you're considering something like a JD MBA, you probably will not be applying to the MBA program until you're already a couple years into the JD. Generally, students who do a joint degree start in the second division that they're a part of here at WashU, and then start in the MBA. So you will kind of have a little bit of a time at WashU before you start to apply to the program. Otherwise, there's no specific changes for dual degree students. Though if you're already here on campus at WashU, definitely come over and visit. Absolutely come and see our program. You already are familiar with campus, but that's a great chance to, again, get to know our students a bit better.
Great. I'll address a couple of test score questions that popped up about any specific requirements for GMAT or GRE. We do not have a preference. You can take either test. Whatever suits your strengths best, it will be accepted. We accept both test scores. And then the next question again was about TOEFL scores. All international students must have a TOEFL score that is less than 2 years old to enroll in the program.
Now, Jessica, is there anybody that might get a waiver for the TOEFL? Is there anybody that doesn't have to take the TOEFL?
Yes, so you can get a waiver for the TOEFL if you have studied at an English-speaking institution where the primary medium of instruction is English, and you have received a degree from that institution and studied there for at least 3 years, 3 concurrent years.
So that also is on the website. So we'd encourage you to look there if you have questions about whether or not you qualify for a TOEFL waiver. Now, what if I have a TOEFL, but I qualify for a waiver? What should I do?
You can submit it if you would like. On the application form, you waive yourself from the TOEFL. So if you meet those standards that are on our website, and as we've mentioned, on the application, you will select TOEFL waiver. You will still be prompted for the specialized masters to submit the Kira video. However, you will not need to upload a TOEFL score.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So there's a couple of questions about scholarship. So I'll just mention again that candidates are automatically considered for scholarship. So there's no additional steps that you need to take. Now, what we look at when we're evaluating scholarship, the same components that we look at in your application, we're also reviewing those to consider you for scholarship opportunities. I did mention that there are some specific scholarships for the full-time MBA program that have specific qualifications. Otherwise, all candidates will be evaluated. So everything that you put in your application is fair game, both for an admission decision as well as a scholarship decision. So everyone is considered for those scholarships. And yeah, we should have mentioned that we are recording this webinar. So if you've had any issues connecting or you just want to relive this moment, it will be available. It will be available later. So definitely don't worry. And so someone asked about, let's see, where's that question? So someone was asking about if they're currently an undergraduate student, what are their chances of getting in? So definitely the profile across the different programs is very different. So on the MBA side, for our part-time MBA program, you do have to be fully employed and you do have to be able to travel to St. Louis for classes. So generally people have work experience. They're, working full time and are taking classes either in our evening program or our Saturday format. For the full-time MBA program, we like to see work experience. Generally, candidates have at least 2 years of full-time post-graduation work experience. The average in our program is closer to 5, but the range is probably about 0 to 12. So we do have students who come into the MBA program directly after undergrad, but generally those candidates have had very strong internship experience, and they have obviously the level of maturity that someone who's already had work experience would have.
And talking about specialized master's programs, those are a little bit different in terms of the portfolio of what work experience looks like. Most of our programs have an average of less than 1 year. Those are pre-experience programs. So most of the students coming in are coming right out of college and they're getting a deep dive into that curriculum before they head out to jumpstart their career. So that's a little bit different when we look at work experience for those programs.
And someone asked about if you apply in the first round, what happens if you're not admitted? So you really only apply in one round. So if you decide to apply in the first round and are not offered admission, you cannot apply in the same cycle. So if you wanted to reapply, you would have to wait until the following year. Scholarship. So someone asked about scholarships for the part-time program for professional MBA. We do not offer scholarships for the professional MBA program, just for the other programs that we do offer. Ooh, someone's coming to campus. What should they do before they come? Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Jessica, what do you think they should do?
Research.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do some research. That's a good
some
one.
research. See who you're meeting with, or if you know who you're meeting with, know what types of classes know your questions. What questions do you want to ask about the program? What's not on the website that you want to know about? Because we really want to get to know you and actually have a conversation about what's going on here.
I would also say that be prepared that our current students are going to ask you questions.
Yeah.
So definitely have your story, understand, why you're getting an MBA. They're gonna want to know who you are And, you know, they're WashU students. They're, you know, kind of protective of their brand as well. So we definitely, you know, they will be asking you just as many questions as you ask them. Also, on a more practical side, I would tell you to check the weather because sometimes it's a little unpredictable here. So we're getting kind of the chilly fall weather right now, comparatively chilly fall weather, but it's going to heat up again. So just, I always say, check the weather the day before you leave, not like the week before you leave. That's a little more practical consideration.
Also, allow yourself a little bit of time. Don't come in and out really quickly. Allow yourself a little bit of time to explore campus on your own a little bit, as well as the areas around campus. We've got a lot of really good restaurants here in St. Louis. So don't try not to just come in and right back out. Actually take advantage of some of the things we have in St. Louis.
Yeah.
The zoo is right next door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I definitely eat and go to the zoo. That's a good one. So someone asked, are all the decisions released on the same day? So yes, our notification date will be for all decisions. So if you go and look at the actual notification date, you'll see that many programs actually will release their decisions on that day. So any waitlist, acceptance, deny, any decision is all released on that notification date.
And the notification date for round 1, so if you're applying in round 1, the notification date will be December 16th. And all of that information is posted on the website.
Great. So we have a couple questions more like program specific. And what I would encourage you is we are doing an MBA program webinar in October. So tentatively the date is October 14th. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the full-time MBA program, we have that program webinar coming up. And so I would definitely encourage you, if you want some information about the experiential learning opportunities, the curriculum, what our students are like, absolutely kind of mark that on your calendar and we'll send you information about that if you're interested in the full-time program.
So there's a question about schools attended previously and how can you upload all of the transcripts. I think you are correct in that there are 3 upload sections. You should be able to have multiple pages per upload as long as your PDF that you're uploading does not go over the size. So if you can squeeze those into one PDF and upload them, that works. If you continue to have difficulty or can't fit them all in, send an email to Olin Grad Admissions at wusel.edu and we will see what we can do to get those transcripts up for you.
So we're going to take a couple more questions. We're going to try to end at about the 45-minute mark because I think you guys have good questions, but we also understand that for some of you it might be really early in the morning, really late at night. Who knows? So absolutely. So we had, let's see what else is here. Hey, is WashU a Yellow Ribbon School? Yes, we are. Absolutely. We have a wonderful veterans program that spans all of our programs here at Olin. So absolutely, we'd be happy to tell you a bit more about the financial assistance opportunities and what the Yellow Ribbon program looks like here at Olin. We have a very strong commitment to veterans. So on our website, there's actually a page specifically for vets that talks about both the pre-program that we do for vets in the MBA and our other graduate programs. It also talks about the financial aid that you could expect and what that process is like. And it allows us to put you in contact with Kyle in our office who handles the financial assistance. So what I would encourage you to do is send us an email at Olin Grad Admissions and we can triage you and kind of put you in contact with an admissions person as far as which program you're interested in. And then we can also answer what questions you might have about funding and the Yellow Ribbon program at Olin. So absolutely send us an email and we'll definitely help you out with your particular situation depending on what sort of benefits you have from the VA. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of good questions. I know. You guys, you all want to know about mainly because I work on the full-time program. You all want to know about the full-time program. Come to our webinar.
Yes.
All right. So someone asked, if I wanted to apply, but like between the deadlines, or do I have to wait until the deadline? Definitely don't wait until the deadline.
No. Submit as soon as your application is ready. You've reviewed it. You've gone through it. It's good. Just go ahead and get it submitted.
And someone asked, if I can't make a campus visit date, could I schedule another date? Definitely the campus visit dates are pretty robust. So it involves quite a few appointments through the day. So as much as possible, we would absolutely encourage you to come on one of our campus visit days or during one of our special weekends that we're hosting this fall. We will also have a preview weekend on campus in early February. So that'll be an opportunity to learn about all the graduate programs here on at Olin. Mm-hmm. But if you can't make one of those visit days, definitely let us know. We'll be happy to set up maybe a time to speak over the phone, maybe Skype with one of our current students. students, we can definitely work something out. But as much as possible, those visit days are definitely a robust opportunity to see many different aspects of the programs.
So someone asked about interviews being in person or online. Most interviews for international students will be online. We will be traveling over the next few months to a few countries, and there may be some scheduling of in-person interviews for international students, but for the most part, those interviews take place via Skype.
Great.
Yeah. You want to take just a couple more here?
Yeah. What should I do if I'm on the wait list? That's a good question. We didn't really address this, but we do utilize the wait list here at Olin. So you might receive notification on the notification date that you're being offered a position on the wait list. So that's an opportunity. Obviously, there's a lot of balls in the air, if you will. There's a lot going on in the application process and in the admissions process. What it means is we're very interested in your application, but due to factors such as people accepting their position in the class, people accepting their scholarship, we're not able to make you an offer at that time. It is a positive thing, so if we put you on the wait list, it's a good thing. You do not have to remain on the wait list if you don't want to, but it's an opportunity for us to help balance, so we really make sure that we're building the class. So yes, it does involve a little bit of waiting, but we try not to keep you on the wait list for too long. But definitely, we do utilize the wait list. All right, let's just take one or two more. There is a question about the selectivity of the different rounds. I'll say that our most popular round is generally our third round, which at this point would be our February 1st round. That's by far our most popular. It's not necessarily our most selective, but that's definitely the most popular. I think you should submit your application as soon as it's ready. Because yes, as you go through the later rounds and after April 3rd, if available, we will move to rolling admission, at which point that is a very competitive process. So definitely submit your application as soon as it's ready. But again, don't rush your application either. It's a very fine balance. We're telling you to do something quickly with alacrity, but also to not rush through it. So it's definitely a tough balance, we understand. But know, again, what components of the application are movable, what are changeable components, and what are things that you really can't move anymore. So someone basically asked about retesting. So if you plan on retaking the GMAT after you submit your application. So if you submit your application and tell us that you're retaking the exam, if you are submitting material after the application deadline, we cannot guarantee that we're able to look at that material. So basically, once you hit submit, you're telling us that your application is ready. If you want to retake the GMAT after that, that's totally fine, but we might not be able to consider that with your application. So keep that in mind. You also cannot submit the application without a GMAT or a GRE score. So you can't hit submit and then tell us you're going to take the GMAT in a couple of weeks. You do have to have a test score when submitting. And again, because we accept unofficial test documents, as soon as you take the GMAT, generally they give you a score right away. So you'll be able to submit very quickly after you take that exam.
I would suggest that if you are thinking that you're going to retake the test, take a look at the deadlines, and you may want to wait. If you think it's going to be a big jump based on maybe practice tests or things like that, you may want to wait until the next round to submit that application.
So I think we'll just take the next minute really to say thank you. I know we did not get to everyone's questions. So what I would really encourage you to do is send us a follow-up email, olingradadmissions@woodstoll.edu. Please send us those questions and we'll definitely get to those. Also, if you missed part of the webinar, we started right at 6 o'clock Central. If you missed any of the webinar, it will be recorded, and it is being recorded, and we'll put it up online for your review. But definitely send us a question, mention that you were in the webinar and you had a follow-up question, and we are absolutely happy to help. So we hope to see you on campus. We hope to see your applications, and we also hope to see you at a future webinar. So thank you guys very much for attending.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Have a great evening or morning.
Or morning, day,
morning.
evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.